Hello and welcome to Audible River. I'm Alan Rice, and I am very happy to be here today with Bruce Saunders, certified teacher of Transcendental Meditation. Hello, Bruce. How are you today?
Oh, just fine, Alan. Pleased to be here.
Very good. So let's just start off. Can you just give me your best description of what is Transcendental Meditation?
Yeah, Transcendental Meditation is a very simple, effortless mental technique. We just sit comfortably. Most people sit comfortably in a chair, close the eyes, and we allow the awareness to go deep within. Now, generally speaking, all our attention is focused outward, right? All the ups and downs of our life. We have our thoughts, our emotions, we have things we want to do, issues that come up. So that's our attention, and it's always fluctuating. But there is this field of consciousness that lies deep within that is non-changing. And in transcendental meditation, we are transcending even the finest level of thought to just settle into that inner wholeness that exists within all of us. And so it's a practice. We do it 20 minutes twice a day, usually before breakfast, before dinner, and it just enhances every aspect of our life, right? Because everything that we do comes from how we think.
Hmm.
How we think comes from how aware, how conscious we are. And as we know, there are varying degrees of consciousness. So TM is this technique to enliven this wholeness so that we become a little bit more thoughtful. We become naturally more present in the moment, and we make better decisions for ourselves. We're more successful as a result. And when we're happier within ourselves, we tend to treat other people better. Our relationships improve. And when this is all going on an individual level, this really contributes to our environment automatically, right? Because we all affect our environment. If we get up on the wrong side of the bed, guess what? We're putting out some negativity, some dullness, some whatever. But if we feel really good inside, we tend to be more patient, more kind, more loving, more forgiving, all of these things, more creative, have more energy. All good comes from enlivening ourselves from within.
Wow.
So TM is a simple practice anybody can learn because it's based on the nature of the mind, not on our powers of concentration, our attitude, our personality, or any of those things.
So are you saying, Bruce, that every person has this, you called it inner wholeness, that's in the mind or part of our consciousness, part of our being. So it's like we may not be connected with it, we may not know it's there, but you say everyone has it. Can you talk a little bit more about what that inner wholeness is? Do you have a way of describing like how it lives in us?
Well, another word is consciousness.
Oh,
Now, lately, these days, there's been a lot of talk about consciousness, but a lot of times people think in terms of consciousness as more of the waking state. Are we conscious or are we asleep?
oh,
Right? The opposite of being in the waking state. But there is an abstract field of consciousness that exists, which is the source of thought
hmm,
and therefore, feeds into our action, our behavior, and then the natural result. So consciousness, and there's a wonderful book out by Dr. Tony Nader entitled Consciousness is All There Is.
okay.
So he looks at this field from many different angles, trying to continue what the founder of TM, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, was always doing, is to link this field of science with this field of consciousness or spirituality, right? Now, sometimes the word spirituality frightens people. They think, oh, I don't want to be spiritual. But it is who we are.
Mm-hmm.
It is our nature. So all we're doing is just enlivening this wholeness is within. Another great analogy is a tree. So we look at a tree, we see it, it's above ground. We look at the trunk, the branches, leaves, roots, flowers, whatever it produces. we rarely think about the roots, but
Mm.
there's a whole root system that matches the development of all the branches of the tree above ground. Now, if that tree is suffering and the leaves are wilting, we don't try to paint the leaves green. We go to a place that's hidden from view. We water the root.
Mm.
And by some miracle of nature, you could say, and I say it because I think everything in nature is pretty much a miracle. But nutrients are absorbed from the soil and they travel in this colorless sap, which is not any part of the tree, but it has all the DNA, all the nutrients that feed every aspect of the tree. So, like that, with transcendental meditation, we are transcending even the finest level of thought. We're going inward and we're watering the root of our own being.
I see.
So, the more consciousness we have available to us, the clearer our thoughts are and the more successful and happy we are and healthy.
So would you say that this watering of our own roots, is it somehow part of our intention? Now, so I mean, just a second. I want to talk about transcending, what that is exactly, because we got this term transcendental meditation. So what
Yeah.
I think that you're talking about, we're transcending our normal mind, our normal like thinking. Is that what you mean by that? To get to the
Yeah,
roots?
transcending thought. And to transcend is to go beyond, right? That which is beyond. And so um, other meditations, for example, involve some degree of thinking about things, whether you're trying to focus, concentrate, where you're trying to think all about, analyze, and contemplate the nature of life, your universe, or whatever, or you're trying to be mindful, you're trying to be present in the moment. But those things, as positive as they can be, are still on that conscious thinking level of the mind. And TM is unique because of that first word, transcendental. So we are not trying to deal with thoughts and manipulate our life on the level of thought. We're just simply attending to subtler and subtler levels and then slips away. Now, as most people know, transcendental meditation involves a mantra. So
Okay.
the mantra is a sound. It's not, and it's just on the level of sound. There's no meaning associated with it, but that is our vehicle of transcending. And so the nature of the mind is that it's always seeking a field of greater happiness, some more satisfaction in life. And that nature drives every decision that we make, no matter what, consciously, unconsciously. We're always looking for what's the better alternative here. I have something really good. Can I do better? So we're always looking that's our nature. And subtler levels of thought are more refined and they are more charming. And so the mind is naturally drawn within if given the opportunity. And I say that because mind and body work together. If we're tired and stressed, it's a physical condition that holds us on the surface. And
Wow.
there's no way we can't get enough sleep to relieve that level of stress. So now we introduce TM. Now, very simply, 20 minutes twice a day, we're turning our awareness within and very easily settling down to that state of very deep, profound rest. So it is inner wakefulness. So it's not like going to sleep where we lose consciousness. We're
Hmm.
very much awake.
Right.
We're in this very settled state of physical functioning. The breathing is so refined. The heart rate is less. Everything, all the indicators of deep rest are there, physiological indicators.
Wow.
And in that deep rest, the body's nature takes over and it begins to throw off stress and strain that may have been hanging around for years.
Wow.
So we come out of our meditation and we just feel like the weight of the world just got lifted off our shoulders, right? We just feel easier inside. So in doing this, we can just really become more ourselves. And we're all unique. We're all such unique individuals, but yet we function from a common source. This field of consciousness lies within us all and is not bound by our personalities or our circumstances.
Wow.
It just is. So by nourishing ourselves in this very deep, profound way, it enlivens every aspect of our mind, body, and behavior very naturally.
Wow. Very naturally. You know, one of the things you mentioned, the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and I know a little bit about the fact that it was, I mean, many, many years ago. I believe that he was probably the individual who alerted the whole Western culture to meditation.
Yeah,
And the key thing is what you were just talking about is the proof and the effectiveness and the simplicity of it. Now what I'm getting to here is like this practice that you're talking about is kind of based on maybe thousands of years of mystical traditions, but now it's been distilled to something that's concrete and easily practiced. Can you like talk more about that? I mean, how this is made more available, something that was like a mystery, many years
yeah,
ago, right?
right. So in India, there's an incredible history of what we call enlightened beings. They're also known as rishis. A rishi is a seer who knows, who sees the truth. A maharishi is one who sees that truth, but also comes out to share it with the world.
Okay.
Now, TM is an ancient technique. It's as old as mankind. As long as there has been a human mind, there has been the ability to experience thought at subtler and subtler levels and then transcend. So this has been known throughout time, but it got lost, right? It's like whispering that secret, that game you play where you whisper a secret, goes around the room. By the time it gets back to you, it's totally different, right?
Mm-hmm.
You said ABC and comes in XYZ. How did that happen?
Uh-huh.
So the same thing has happened with this knowledge of meditation. It was known to be effortless, but then it became effortful because from one teacher to the student to the next student and through generations, a little bit was lost. And when that purity of the teaching is lost, then all of a sudden, something that was effortless is now you have to try harder, right? You got to concentrate, you got to focus, you got to believe,
Oh,
all of these things.
okay.
Where in fact, if practiced properly, it's taking advantage of the nature of the mind, settling down in an effortless way. So, many thousands of years of meditation, great saints have come and gone in India, but still the knowledge was lost. So Maharishi came out in the world. He formally inaugurated his spiritual regeneration movement in India in 1957
Mm.
and then began traveling around the world. And he was the only person um, to be, it was just himself. And
Uh-huh.
he was a monk. He didn't have much, but people sponsored him to go here and go there. And it created this kind of very strong current of enthusiasm. And then by the time I got into it in 1969,
Wow.
it was becoming very, very popular on college campuses.
Hmm.
And so my generation was big into TM. Oh, and also there was a little blip on the screen called the Beatles.
Okay. Yes.
So the Beatles started Transcendental Meditation, went and spent some time with Maharishi. And even today, Paul and Ringo still practice TM and have supported graciously the TM organization over the years. But that really was a blip on the screen compared to all that Maharishi did and his legacy for the world. But he came out and he wanted to make it available to anybody. So you don't have to be a monk. You don't have to give up your life to gain some inner peace. And I know before I started TM, the thought of the word meditation, I thought meant something really hard. You got to go live in a cave somewhere, give up everything, and just really give it everything you got. And I thought, why would anybody do that? It just made no sense to me.
Right.
I know now why they would, but still, that's not something that everybody can do, anybody can do.
Right.
Whereas what Maharishi did, he put it in a very systematic method. So he invited people who wanted to become teachers of meditation. And trust me, we were not Maharishis,
Okay.
but he gave us this simple package of knowledge that in many ways is very scientific because it is systematic. You can do it over and over again in the same way with predictable results, which have been verified in over 380 peer-reviewed studies. Overall, I think there's over 700 published studies on TM.
Wow.
So it's not a matter of my opinion, Maharishi's opinion. TM creates this very unique state of inner rest, inner stillness, and it enlivens anybody whosoever wants to have that experience. So again, it's not based on our powers of concentration or belief systems. It's just turning the awareness within and settling down and doing this on a regular basis. So we loosen the grip of stress and think more clearly. But definitely Maharishi is the one who brought it to the world as we know it today, and hopefully we'll have it in its purity for thousands of years.
Very nice. Now, what's involved in getting trained to become a transcendental meditator? How hard is that?
Well, it's not difficult at all. It does require 4 days in a row. It is a course, you could say, and it's for about an hour to an hour and a half each day. Now, traditionally, that is done in person. But as of COVID-19, when we couldn't meet in groups, I don't know, it was like a dream, right? You remember
Oh yeah.
COVID-19? It
Oh
came and
yeah.
went, what was happening?
Yeah.
But we came up with a TM phone app, which then allows group meetings online, right? And here we are on Zoom. This is the Zoom era. We're
Yes, that's right. That's right.
yeah.
We all learn to Zoom
So
now.
right. So in the hybrid version, you come on the first day. First day always has to be personal and private instruction. And then the following three are done with Zoom meetings and a special TM phone app. So that becomes helpful for people who have to travel at a distance
Hmm.
or are extremely busy, gives them more flexibility. But either way, it's 4 days of instruction. And you want to just set up a regular routine, establish that regularity of practice, and just, we brush our teeth twice a day, we meditate twice a day. This is how we go about our life. And life is better with regular practice of TM. It just is. And I know for myself, from the beginning, I felt this peacefulness and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. What is this I'm feeling? And as you get more accustomed to it, you realize, okay, this is just being easy in myself. I was not used to being settled and at peace within myself. So it was a little strange in the beginning. But then as a student, I started to get better grades and I wasn't trying any harder. I
Oh,
wasn't spending more time in the library or whatever, studying more. Things are just coming to me easier.
wow.
And I could absorb them, I could remember them. I It gave me greater confidence to stand up in front of the class and talk, which was a challenge for me at the time. So
Right.
all of these things started adding up, and I thought, oh my God, this is really good. I
Very
think
good.
I'll just keep doing this.
So you knew early on that this was going to be something that was going to benefit you, probably for
Oh
the rest of
yeah.
your life, right? Yeah, you could
Oh,
tell.
absolutely. It was something that
Uh,
uh, it's different for everybody, but when I first heard about TM, I kind of got a little giddy inside
yeah.
because I was kind of struggling in my life
Hmm.
and in school and everything. And now all of a sudden, what? I can expand my mind. I can get rid of this stress that I'm dealing with. I can be happier. And it was like the one, two, three punch. I'm in. And so I started TM and really never looked back.
You mentioned you made the analogy of a meditation practice to brushing your teeth. You meditate twice a day,
Yeah,
you brush your teeth. And so I'm thinking about that. This analogy of like, well, I mean, when we, you can tell when we start to smell a little bit. Oh yeah, I got to go take a shower or something. Or like, I was like, oh, I can smell my own breath. I better go brush my teeth. So I mean, there,
yeah,
in the physical way, we're taught by our parents, if they're good parents, they teach us how to brush our hair and clean ourselves. So we learn to take care of our bodies, from early on, right? But to take
yeah,
care of our mind is really busy, like figuring stuff out and adapting to life and sorting things out and worrying about every little thing, right?
yeah,
But our culture isn't teaching us how to take care of that part of ourselves. And what I
yeah.
get, what you're saying is that that's just as important. And this what did you call it? This whatever this is, this unity consciousness. What did you call it?
This
That's the
wholeness.
wholeness. Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
the wholeness that's deep within us is like a place where everything gets clean. It gets sorted out, sort of like you're. This is. I'm just imagining. I'm just kind of riffing here on
yeah.
what I think that you're talking about. Yeah, go
Well, what
ahead.
it really is the wholeness, that purity of consciousness stands on its own.
Okay.
It doesn't sort anything out, but it enlivens every aspect of the mind. So it's like we're turning up the inner light of our own consciousness, our own being.
Okay.
We can use another analogy. So sometimes if you're used to living in a dark place, right? You're in a dark room. There are inherent problems with darkness. We're
Mm.
bumping into things, we're bumping into each other. Disagreements arise, and people get upset. Now you caused that. No, you caused that, this and that. So you can try to analyze on that level how the darkness happened and who's responsible, or you just go turn up the light. And when
Right.
you turn up the light, then all the problems of darkness literally disappear. So by cultivating this inner field of consciousness, we are turning up the light from within. So that's why we think more clearly. That's why we have better, more successful action and rewarding relationships, because we're more alive within, we're more awake. But it's all about gaining this more and more of this integrated state of inner wholeness, inner peacefulness, steadiness of awareness, along with our active mind.
Right.
So it feeds as a purifying element.
Right. And so, like all the things that we do for ourselves that require, taking care of ourselves in life, this is something it's a discipline that we maintain, right? That's what we're
Yeah.
talking about, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, TM itself is effortless, but we have to make room for it in our life,
Okay.
right? You
Hmm.
have to actually meditate to get the benefits. Even if you have a neighbor or somebody who's meditating, yeah, you're going to get some effect from that, but it's not the same.
Oh,
We want it, we got to do it.
well, that's an interesting thing you just said. A neighbor's meditating, and you might get the effect of that. So, talk a little bit about that. How meditating people can affect one another, or how it can change an environment or society. Even talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So as we know, we all affect each other. We may not realize we're affecting other people, but if we wake up, we're in a good mood, great. We naturally put that out. It's like that analogy, you throw a pebble in the pond, right? It ripples.
Okay.
Now, if you throw it nicely or whatever, perfectly, oh, it's a beautiful ripple. But if you do it in a erratic way, it creates all kinds of mess. So if we are lively in our consciousness, we are steady within ourselves, we're not gripped by the stress of life, we naturally emit a more positive vibration. And so I'm sure we have met people where you meet them, and even though you've not known them, that we are aware of, but yet we feel so close to them,
Mm,
right? It's just like an immediate bond. And
right.
then you see other people, you don't have to hear them speak a word. You don't want anything to do with them.
Yeah, you can just feel it.
Go the other way,
Right.
right?
Uh-huh.
So we all emit some influence in our environment, whether we're speaking or doing it, but it's always there. So naturally, if people are more peaceful, then they're affecting others in a peaceful way. Now, if you get more and more people practicing TM, or in fact any kind of peaceful activity, naturally the whole environment is affected. Now, with TM, there's something called the Maharishi effect.
Okay.
Now, when he first came out into the world, he just said, not everybody has to meditate, just give me 1 in 100. So basically 1%.
Wow.
And then he says the whole population will be affected by that. And in fact, they studied that in Europe and the United States, and they found that when communities had at least a 1% of their population practicing TM, that positive trends increased, negative trends, crime and whatnot, went down.
Interesting.
And then in the mid 70s, Maharishi came out with what he calls the TM Siddhi program, that's SIDHI, TM Siddhi program, in which he found that if you get a large group of people together doing this advanced program, then it only takes the square root of 1% to have a positive effect on the whole population.
Okay, wait, hang on a second. Let me see if I understand what you just said. So, people practicing individually, if you got 1% of these people who are like, in their homes together, whatever, they don't necessarily know each other, but 1% of the population spread out, then that has an overall effect. But you just said that the square root of 1%, if those people are gathered in one place together, does
Yeah,
this amplifies the effect? Is that what you're
yeah,
saying? Okay.
right. It's an exponential thing, right? So it's like you have, and there's a great example from physics and light. You can combine light and create much more. So the whole then becomes much more than the sum of the parts,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
right?
see. I see.
And
Right.
so that's what happens. And so when we have our group meditations, and that's why it's so nice in group meditations, because we're creating an environment there that is more conducive to transcending. And we all need to be doing our practice on our own, but the group meditations are always very enlivening, simply because we're all benefiting from each other's silence and coherence.
Right.
And it magnifies that effect.
I know that, these days, people who are like into, metaphysics, spirituality, or whatever, new age stuff, they'll talk about energy, or they'll talk about, like, how things feel energetically, or that kind of thing. But I also know that
Yeah.
there's science behind the fact that all of us emit an electromagnetic set of frequencies, that it comes
Yes.
from the functions of our brain and our heart and all this sort of thing, and we have, like, I don't know how it extends some, few feet around us. And maybe
Yeah.
and this is a verifiable thing, right? That
Yes.
we have this field, and that somehow maybe and that we can detect something from and this is what you were talking about earlier, that we have that, and I think that, if we're just talking about this with people who don't think about it much, that, people are saying, like, oh, that's just foo-foo, whatever. But, they're also learning that we have these other, receptors in our body that that are picking up senses that we weren't aware of, maybe in the past. More than the five senses are actually available. What do you know? Did you know something about that?
Yeah, well, it is all through the senses.
Yeah.
I mean, this is our medium of experience is through the senses,
Yeah.
but there are subtle senses. So
Mm.
we have a gross level of perception, but that can also be refined as you become refined in your physical functioning. Our sensory perceptions become naturally more refined. And there are people who have intuition. In fact, everybody has some degree of intuition.
Hmm.
If you're real manly, you call it my gut feeling, right? If you're real
Right.
manly. But if you say, oh, he's intuitive, that sounds a little woo-woo, right? But
Right.
it's the same reality. Just
Okay.
one is maybe on a grosser level than the other. So
Uh-huh.
we all have that ability, and just depends on the functioning of the nervous system as to whether we pick it up or not. I mean, I know that there are times when I had to ride a public public transportation and you're jammed in with a bunch of people. And guess what? That don't feel so comfortable. It's not like they're bumping into me necessarily, but people have their feelings and their thoughts and their energies, and we are subjected to that, whether we
Yeah.
like it or not.
I like it or not. That's exactly what was going on. I was thinking ready or not, right?
Yeah, ready. Both.
Yeah, either way, right. So you yeah may or may not be comfortable with all those energies all at once. If you have a mind to become aware of it. But maybe that's also, I mean, it gets into, if we are, oh yeah, this is what I want to talk about. So as we practice transcendental meditation, and say we're doing this for a year, 2 years, on and on in our life, what kind of can you talk about the sort of changes that people go through, or also are there is any kind of goals that as you get into I think you mentioned advanced training, so are there other levels to reach or goals that people can have in mind for personal development using transcendental meditation?
Yeah, so transcendental meditation itself is the foundation of the whole program,
Okay.
right? The foundation of life is consciousness. So we want to establish that and enliven that. But once that becomes a little bit more mature, then we have advanced techniques. There are four advanced techniques. Then there's a whole additional program, the TM Siddhi program.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole university, Maharishi International University, is based in Fairfield, Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a tremendous body of knowledge that is available for those who want to go more deeply into it. There are TM retreats you can go to.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, every local center has some group meditations they offer on a regular basis. And so those things are always there. Plus, once you become a TM meditator, you're a meditator for life, and you can go anywhere in the world where there's a TM center or certified teacher like myself and have follow-up of your meditation. So it's what we call our checking procedure. So
Mm-hmm.
you can sit with a trained teacher and have a little refresher.
Okay.
And sometimes they offer like full like 2 or 3 hour refresher, but you can actually sit with the teacher and kind of refresh your practice. So there's always something there to keep us going. But if you want to go more deeply into TM, there's a whole TM universe that is a lifetime plus of knowledge
Okay.
available, just depending on our appetite, our desire, our thirst for higher knowledge. It's all there.
So a person could just learn transcendental meditation, do it twice a day, and enjoy that for the rest of their lives. I mean,
Yes.
it's as simple as that. Or, like you said, depending on their appetite or their interest, you could take it further and you could get more involved in the many ways that this can be applied or learned from this body of knowledge. So I'm wondering, like, what did you do to become certified? How did you get to where you are with this?
Yeah. So the process of becoming a teacher of TM has changed over the years. Initially, you would go to India to be with Maharishi.
Mm,
But then so many people, by the time I started, I was inspired, oh, I want to go to India and be with Maharishi.
yeah.
But there are so many people that he couldn't house them all. So he had to travel around, and initially there were 1 month prep courses, and then there were at least 2.5 months in addition, and you become a teacher of meditation. Well, we've had many ups and downs over the years of surges of popularity and then not as much, and surges of popularity. So over time, and people, we were all in our 20s for the most part.
Uh-huh.
People got married, they had jobs, they had responsibilities. So um, active teachers and among active teachers became very, kind of calmed down on a very low level. So at a certain point in 2005, I believe it was, Maharishi wanted to basically take stock of who is still with him. So he created this recertification course. And so as a result, um, then I took that. My wife also took that. We became certified
Okay.
teachers of TM.
Got it.
So, and right now it's you have to have all these advanced techniques and advanced programs in order to become a certified teacher of TM, which is in itself is a 5 month course.
Okay. Okay. All right. And how long would and now I know you named some years, but would you mind telling me like, how long have you been doing this? I mean, can you put
Yeah,
any
so I started in 1969,
uh
and so it's been over 50 years. I was 19 years old going to school at Sacramento State, and it just was a game changer.
wow.
And then I became a teacher, finished my teacher training in 1972. And then I taught full time as much as I could for 6 years. Then I met my wife, and things changed.
As they
They
will.
tend to happen.
Yes.
And, we couldn't make very much money doing TM. Believe it or not, I was living on about $125 a month.
My goodness. That's a miracle by itself.
Yeah, that was a miracle. My room was like it was $50 and went up to 75, and I was really feeling the pinch.
Oh my goodness.
I
Yeah.
had to borrow a car to get to the TM center to teach.
Okay.
And so when I met my wife, she said, "Well, you're going to get a real job, aren't you?"
Yeah, right.
And I'm thinking at first, well, I'm a teacher of TM. What do you mean real job? And then I kind of, okay, I get it. I
Okay.
get it. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
the kind with money,
So,
right?
right, that one.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I had to give up teaching TM for a while. It actually
Uh,
was about 19 years
okay.
that I was unable to teach because I was working full time. And we moved back to my hometown, which was a little small town south of Sacramento. And there's very few people interested in TM in a small rural community like that.
Uh-huh.
So it just didn't happen until, 1997. Then we had a full-time teacher here in Sacramento. She decided to go back to the university. Then all of a sudden, there it was
Oh.
the opportunity. I was really sorry that she was leaving, and then all of a sudden it dawned on me, oh my God, I get to teach you. So I started teaching again in 97,
Hmm.
primarily out of my home. We've
Hmm.
had a couple of centers here and there, but yeah, since 97, steadily. So 35 something years of teaching.
Well, if I can say from my own observation, you seem to find it very satisfying. Would you agree with that?
It is the best thing I ever did in my life.
Wow. That's a
Single best thing.
wow.
All the best experiences of my life flowed from the time that I started TM, and especially when I became a TM teacher. Um, yeah, the being around Maharishi was absolutely life-changing in itself.
Wow.
But all the people that I've been able to meet and learn from over the years never would have happened. And so from my perspective, from my life, this is the single best thing that I could have done. And I'm very happy and grateful, deeply grateful
Hmm.
to be a teacher of TM.
Bruce, I'm going to maybe I'm maybe asking you to speculate a little bit, or maybe getting into what beliefs or that kind of thing. But I want to know what you think about the future. I mean, if you're thinking about how TM has affected your life, how transcendental
Yeah.
meditation has grown in the world so far, and just spitballing what you would like to see, what you think might happen, what are your thoughts and feelings about the future that we're in if we have this TM going?
Well, I think from many different perspectives, different religions and cultures, they've all talked about a golden age.
Hmm.
And in fact, Maharishi in 1975 inaugurated what he called the dawn of the Age of Enlightenment.
Oh.
And so this is what I'm looking forward to, an age of heaven on earth.
Wow.
And so when he announced this, people were very concerned because, well, we had a possibility of mutual self-destruction, which still exists today.
Oh yeah.
And the country of China was completely dark and isolated from the rest of the world.
Hmm.
And Russia was very, antagonistic and everything it continues to be. So people said, how can you say this, Maharishi? This isn't what we see. And she says, yeah, he says, but if I wait until the sun comes up, it's not much of a prediction. I'm calling it now. In the middle of the night,
Okay. Okay.
they were coming into this age of heaven on earth. And, there peace in the world is not just an absence of war.
Okay.
People can still be stressed. It's just that war breaks out because of this collective stress in society, and it can only be expressed in terms of war. That's the only means they have to release that stress.
Okay.
So somehow we can get more and more people turning within, settling down, even just doing their prayers or other meditations. But especially TM will be more powerful, that we will definitely bring about a peaceful world. And the analogy that's used here is that a forest is green because the trees are green. There's no way around it,
Right.
right? So a peaceful world can only happen if there are peaceful people. And most people don't come to TM because of world peace or they just want to save themselves, basically,
Right.
relieve stress of their own life. But that's the building block, that's the essential ingredient to world peace, is individual peace. And as we've seen with this Maharishi effect, which by the way has been studied over 50 times in different parts of the world, um, it doesn't take everybody to do TM.
Hmm.
To have the whole country feeling a little more relaxed. And just, instead of waking up in the morning and you want to blow up your neighbor,
Uh-huh.
you think, I think I'll do something else today.
Like,
Right? Just a
like,
little moment of decision.
right. Yeah. Maybe I'll bake
So
some
this is
cookies.
what we're hoping to cultivate.
Uh-huh.
But again, it takes a lot more people to make that happen. And so I'm hopeful that we are gradually moving into that. However, there is a lot of negativity in the world, and it all has to get sorted out. So what's happening and has been happening is basically a purification in which all the negativity is bubbling up to the surface.
Right.
But it's in the process of purification. It's in the process of being dispersed, and it may take some years here, but that's what I believe we're coming into, and certainly something I want to see in my lifetime.
Right. So expelling waste can look, terrible for a while.
Exactly. Pretty messy.
Pretty messy. But you know what? I am encouraged by the fact that so many people, like I think everywhere in the world, really are talking about peace. I mean, it doesn't matter like what country you're in or what culture you're
Yeah.
in. If you ask people what they're thinking, what they really want, and people want a peaceful life. People want to feel secure, and they want to feel safe with their family and their neighbors. This is what people want.
Absolutely. And the more we have a groundswell of that sentiment, the more it will begin to show itself in the kind of people we elect to public office,
Yeah.
the policies we have. So one thing that Maharishi pointed out years ago is that the government is run by certain individuals, but those individuals are not the problem.
Hmm.
He says they exist because of the collective consciousness of the people
Right.
that through advocacy or apathy have allowed that person to lead.
Hmm.
And I remember years ago, I was listening to some radio program, and they were interviewing a former member of the Soviet press.
Hmm.
who was a young reporter in the time of Stalin, right?
Hmm.
And they were saying, well, didn't you know about all the atrocities that he was committing? He said, yeah, yeah, everybody knew. He says, but there was a little bit of Stalin in each one of us.
Oh.
And I thought, there it is. There it is. Certainly, there are wonderful people in Russia,
Hmm.
wonderful people in China, but the collective have either advocated for this person to lead them because they think that's what we need to lead our country,
Hmm.
or they've allowed it to happen and said, it's out of my hands. So either way, the collective consciousness manifested these leaders. So if we want to have good leaders, we need to improve ourselves from within.
From within.
Again, it's that
Right.
individual desire for peace and desire for to treat the environment properly, right? Treat
Yeah.
each other properly.
Right.
And so when that grows to a certain level of uh, critical mass, you could say, we'll see a change.
Yes.
It'll just happen.
So, I mean, if me personally, if I had to like, point out a key feature of what I would call the new age, whatever this is. I mean, everybody on the
Yeah,
planet knows we're going through changes. I mean,
right.
everybody, if they've been alive, I don't know how long, 10 years.
Arguments.
Yeah, yeah, 5 minutes, the planet is going through some changes. You could just sense it.
Yeah,
But to me, I mean, knowing a little bit of history and like studying some things, the big difference that I see and what we're experiencing now is more talking about what you were just saying, this acceptance of personal responsibility, this personal, the idea that I need to take care of myself
yeah,
and I need to solve the problems within me before the problems in the world are going to get solved. This is like an understanding that seems to be growing, and also too, with that like transcendental meditation, every individual having this method of connecting with something that's as vastly important as this inner wholeness that you were talking about.
yeah,
So it brings it back to each individual. Whereas, like I think in the past, we've sort of like we've lived with the idea that we're like under a greater authority, and that it's up to the great
yeah.
authority to take care of everything, but that seems to be dissolving into this whole understanding that all of us as individuals are responsible for what's happening with ourselves and the whole world.
Yeah, absolutely. And taking care of ourselves is not a small, selfish act.
Right.
It is fundamentally important, right? Because we are the common denominator in every relationship that we have. And we may wish to change other people, but we can't.
Right.
We can have a better influence on them, but we can't make them be a better person. So all we can really do is improve ourselves.
Yeah.
And then naturally, if we're better, every relationship just got a little bit better. Even people we struggle with that maybe trigger us in some way.
Hmm.
If we're more steady within ourselves, we can deal with that and move on and not get hung up in the miseries of life.
Well, this is a really super hopeful message, I think, for
Yeah,
anybody listening, that there's a simple thing like transcendental meditation, and this thinking about the kindness that we can generate in our lives from just regenerating ourselves in this with this simple thing. And anyway, I want to thank you for sharing all of this. Do you have anything you want to add today before we just end our little episode?
yeah. So, again, TM may not be for everyone, but it can help anyone. Anyone who wants to practice TM on a regular basis will be feeling better.
Yeah.
It's hard not to feel better.
And by the way, something I forgot to mention. I think
Yeah,
that transcendental meditation doesn't require you to believe in, have a certain religion or have a
right.
philosophy. It's just a practice that anybody can do, no matter what you believe. Is that true?
Yes, it is true. And even though it comes from, Maharishi was a Hindu monk and he came from India, and this comes from this tradition in India. However, it is a universal technique. So it's no more Indian then gravity belonged to the British just because Isaac Newton discovered it, right? It's a
Okay.
principle of nature. And
Beautiful.
so anybody can practice this. And because it's effortless, then, it's easy. It's not a big deal to learn.
Right.
We just have to make it a part of our daily routine.
Yes, and Bruce, I'm going to have a link in the program notes that people can go to look you up and look up tm.org. Is that correct? If they
Yeah,
want
right.
more information about how this works and how to get training. And I just want to say, Bruce, thank you so much for spending time with me today to talk about this. It's a wonderful thing for people to know about and to get some details of what it's really involved in this.
Well, thank you so much, Alan. It really is a pleasure to speak with you. And thank you for having me.
And you are very welcome. And that is all for this episode of Audible River. We greatly appreciate our listeners all over the world and wherever you are on this wonderful planet. We'd love to know what you think about our podcast. So please email us at audibleriverpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for listening.